I've always loved hearing the sound of the owl, even though I was never able to actually catch sight of it. I remember when I was younger how hearing the owl's call meant evenings with Granny and Grandpa, sitting in lawn chairs outside and listening to the woods around us. I listened with such wonder in those days. That house up on the hill meant wonder. I'd grab one of their books and go out to read by the woods. I met Shakespeare that way, Tom Sawyer, Jane Eyre, the Mississippi River and Yorkshire moors. The world opened wider and more wonderful with each new page. But I was young then, and wonder has a way of leaving us. Dreams can fly away. When I left school at 20-something, my English Lit degree unfinished, would you believe that I gave away almost all of my books? I was disillusioned with classrooms. I didn't want to teach the way I used to. I got rid of the books. I didn't want to see those reminders of a dream that had left me. Do you remember the first time that a dream left you? It's a hard kind of first. First time having to figure out who we are without that love, without that dream. First time facing that long stretch of time between the ending of one thing and the beginning of another. I may be more experienced now, but I still feel sympathy with that 20-something that I became, who hopped between jobs, restlessly seeking some work, some task that would renew my love. I remember how I would visit with my neighbor Betty over tea. Betty had spent years working with people who faced unemployment and underemployment. But by the time I met her, her eyesight was dim. She had to use a walker, and she couldn't venture very far away from home without help. So she'd turned inside to baking muffins and inviting anyone she met to come inside for tea. And she invited me. And I remember how I felt embarrassed that first day that we sat down at her table and she asked about my work. I knew that I didn't enjoy it. I knew that I'd left school without finishing the degree I started, and now I felt ashamed to be plugging away at a job that I disliked with no new dream of something better to do with myself. So I was struck by how she listened to me. She acted curious, no blame or disapproval. And she listened as if open to whatever might be happening in this life of mine. She didn't pity me. And in the years that followed, I realized that she didn't pity herself either. Struggling with her health, unable to pursue what had been her life's passionate work, she persevered as if she assumed there would be other ways to share her insights and to be with people who were struggling. And I realized how her muffins and her mentor's voice in my own struggling days spoke to me of how well-founded her confidence actually was. Some people persevere with patience and passion. Others have to do it with restlessness and discouragement. But I think that what matters most is that we persevere. It's been years now since Betty passed away, but sometimes I still bake a batch of her muffins. I keep the recipe that she gave me tucked into a cookbook on my bookshelf, where I have slowly begun gathering more books again, different books, new interests. The next time I move, I will have to move way more books than I used to have to deal with. But for now, I'm enjoying my own home by the woods, getting a chance every now and then to hear that owl calling in the distance. Recently, I noticed some walkers had stopped by a fence down the road, and I wondered what they were looking at, so I went down to join them. And sitting on a branch up in the tree was a great horned owl, watching us, watching it. I had given up looking for that bird long ago, and now here it was, unsought and wonderful, like a sign of all the life and possibility in our midst, long before we ever catch a glimpse of it.